Debt is not the enemy. Misusing it and misunderstanding it is.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
We are honored to welcome you to another episode of Life's Inside Track. I'm Yetta Decker.
And I'm Ken Decker.
And it's where we get to share techniques, thoughts, tips, tools, truths, and tactics that we all need, we all deserve, you, I, everyone, so we can turn our house into home, our families thrive, and we build wealth wisely through real estate. I love this series. We're on episode number 6 of 8.
Yes, we are.
In the Wealth Formula Expanded Journey.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, makes my heart happy.
Yeah, you like this one?
Well, I do, because now we're talking about, in the other segments or episodes, we've talked about debt and the damage of debt and how consumer debt kills you and hurts you and drains you and stresses you and derails you and distracts you and 100 other negative things.
Right.
And now we're saying, well, let's not paint all debt with the same paintbrush.
Yes.
Let's slow it down for a minute and understand, because Zane took the time in the latter parts of the book to start to teach David and Sarah how to get out of their own way, meaning not to keep using debt and money that they didn't have for things that were depreciating. And then he said, but once you've controlled that, then you can use debt for your good if you do it right.
Right.
And doing it right, I'll just say, is not over leveraging. Like, that's the first thing we're going to say. It's not maxing yourself out. Even if you're using equity out of your house for an investment, luckily the banks won't let you go over 80% loan to value ratio in your own principal residence, even if you're using it on another investment property. You can do it
other ways, which is a problem.
Which is a problem. And so we are not an advocate of over leverage. Even if you found a way to work around the system, we're here to tell you, don't do it. We don't do it. And we really, really beg people not to do it. Probably the thing that freaks me out, this is the sad part of this episode, and yes, I'm on a little bit of a rant. So when people read the Wealth Formula book, and if you haven't read it yet, get your copy. You can pop by the office from 9 to 4, and Monday to Friday, and Ken will sign it for you, or you might get me to sign it for you.
If we're there. If not, I might even leave a few pre-signed.
We might. But if you want your name in it, you'll want to let us know you're popping by to buy a book. And it's only $25 if you buy it directly from us, and significantly more if you buy it on Amazon.ca. So what freaks me out, this is my freak out rant, is when somebody reads the book and then gets somebody to help them purchase an investment property or a principal residence at all costs, meaning at a cost that wasn't wise, at a cost beyond their capacity, beyond their ability, and maybe in an isolated situation, short-term, high-interest debt might make sense to get into the housing market. Most of the time, the answer to that is no. And yet, if you don't have a guide that actually gets the bigger picture, it's easy enough to get caught in over leverage. We had another call this week, a clarity call, and it turns out somebody read the book, applied the information, sort of, but at an interest rate that didn't make sense because it didn't work beyond capacity.
Yeah. And so what Zane's explaining to David and Sarah is that even their first house is their first use of good debt, because it's generally not something that goes down in value. And if it does, it's temporary. And over time, housing goes up in value. It's gone up since the beginning of time, really. The value of real estate continues to increase. God's not making any more of it.
More land anyway.
That's what I mean. And so people are expanding. So there's demand for real estate. And whenever there's demand, value will continue to increase. Now, so Zane and us disagree with Robert Kiyosaki on this point.
Yeah, we don't agree with the dude, even though he's a super smart dude,
Yeah.
and a super wealthy dude.
And we made money on with his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
We did.
Great book. Just the only thing we differentiate on is Robert Kiyosaki would say your house is a liability, not an asset, because it costs you monthly. But my quip or whatever against that is that so would renting. Renting costs you monthly.
But that's a liability.
Yeah.
So that one's a liability.
But the house is increasing in value. And for the landlord that owns the one you're renting, that's an asset for them. Somebody else is paying for it. Right?
Right. But the one you're living in, that's the one we're talking about.
Right.
Because it's going up in value,
I call it an asset. And it's good debt. Depreciating asset.
Right. As long as you're not over leveraged. Again, you have to have capacity, whether this is your principal residence or whether this is an investment property. We don't want you to go off. There are like off the rails, right?
Yeah.
Out of alignment with what makes sense. There are times where renting is a really good choice.
Yep. If you're short term, you're moving, you don't know where you want to live in a city, you don't know how long, you haven't built your credit up yet, you don't have the down payment, lots of reasons to rent.
You have super low rent. That might be a reason, because most of the time when somebody comes to us, if they're going to live in something similar to what they're renting, their mortgage payments, their cost of having that property to live in is not really any different. Sometimes it's lower actually than what they're renting. Not always, often, because the landlord's making money, right? So it kind of makes sense.
Typically they are, if they've done it right.
If they've done it right, not always. And so we just want to look at all the factors when we're looking at what's good debt, what's bad debt.
Right. And something to be careful of is, the banking system says that mortgage debt represents 75% of households borrowing.
So that means 25% is consumer debt according to statistics.
But I think that's false, because we've seen it many times where people have rolled their debt into their mortgage, or in our case, we have put down payments on other real estate that came out of our house. So we actually owe more on our house than we paid for it, but it's all invested in other real estate. So, is that a true figure?
It's not a true figure. I mean, we all know stats can be manipulated, and yet we want to show you some statistics because then you have a sense of where things are and where things are going. So if we're saying, I'm going to move away from using the down payments for debt that or property purchases that are increasing in value, and say that what we've seen hundreds of times and mostly isn't that money is being pulled out of the house for equity. The equity is not being pulled out to use for an investment. It's being pulled out to pay off consumer debt. So a $150,000 house purchased in 1990, all of a sudden now in 2025, they're still in it. It's worth $600,000 or $700,000. And unfortunately, the mortgage is at $500,000. That's just consumer debt. They haven't bought an investment property.
Exactly. So debt isn't dangerous when it's disciplined. And we're glad that we're able to guide you to build wealth wisely, because it's about much more than just the money.
Moving forward with the